Was my language school worth the money? My honest review. Hey everyone! In this video I will share my experience of my 2 weeks of language school in Seoul. Was the course really worth it? Or would I have been better to investing my money in something else? I will tell you how it went, what I learned, and if I would do it again. First of all, the structure. I attended a Korean language school in Seoul for 2 weeks. The first day we had a placement test, so we had to do a multiple choice test to have a look how's our level, and then we had a 3 minutes conversation with a Korean native speaker, one of the teachers I think. Based on this, I was put to a level and joined a class. And these classes were that in the mornings we had always 3 to 4 grammar points, and in the afternoon we learned more vocabulary and tried to improve speaking. The class size were 10 to 15 people. That's better than in German schools, of course, but it was not enough. It was too many people to practice speaking very well. However, overall the school supports very well, so if you have any questions, any problems, you can always go to the teachers and the organizer. And yes, that's really good at this program. So if you're very young and you're going your first time abroad, I would suggest to go with language school just to have then that someone who you can ask if you have problems. Cost versus benefits. I spent 730 euros for the 2 weeks. For comparison, from my preply teacher in Korean, I'm already booking over a year now. I could buy 36 hours from this amount of money. So I believe 36 hours of 101 speaking classes would be more beneficial. But of course, even if it's more beneficial for your learning progress, you are not in the country, of course. Unfortunately, I had really high expectations because it was my first time joining a language school, and I thought that it would be really intensive learning, and after the 2 weeks I would understand a lot better and could speak more fluent. That was not the case. I think after the 2 weeks I had learned maybe 300 new words. That's not less, but what I want to say is that 2 weeks are too short. So I don't know if there's any class that is intensive enough that you learn so much in 2 weeks, but in this school it was not enough to feel a huge progress after 2 weeks. So maybe 2 weeks is just too short and my expectations were too high. Also, one downside was that they had advertisement that you can speak with other students who are Korean native speaker and want to improve their English, but that was also not the case. We had a meetup, but there was just 1 or 2 Koreans for, I don't know, 30 foreigners. So also a bit disappointing there. So what really helped? There was nothing wrong with the classes, so grammar points, vocabulary, speaking, everything fine, of course. But 2 weeks, you don't need it. So what really helped me beforehand was the whole year of consistent learning and learning vocabularies every day, get input via videos and lessons, and speak with my Korean teacher. So I think all of this over the whole year were more effective than if I would not learn at all and just go for 2 weeks to a language school. I think you cannot expect that you can speak anything or understand anything. I also met a few students who didn't learn before Korean, so they started at ground zero, at the language school. Just first day was Hangul. And I personally have the opinion that this is a waste of money because, yeah, at the beginning you do not really need to spend so much time with the teacher. I think it is really helpful to just learn the Hangul first and have a feeling for the language a bit and a few sentences. And if you really start at ground zero at the language school, it's really expensive for something so basic that you could learn 2 or 4 weeks beforehand and just go to a higher level and get more for your money. But however, some people do need this for feeling committed. They have more motivation if they have a teacher in the class, so everyone is different. Just my personal opinion that I think that's a waste of money, and I think some people maybe just do it for the experience, not really to learn effectively. So if it's just for you to experience the country and have fun during classes, then you can of course do it like this. Then I would maybe suggest to just do the morning classes and not the afternoon classes, so that you can have enough time for going around in Korea and Seoul, because the city is really large and wide, and if you want to see something from a touristic point of view, you have to travel a long time. So you have to ride with the subway, for example, 1 hour to get to the palace, etc. So if it's for you for the experience, of course you can do it, no judgment at all. Then I would just do the half day. If you want to learn effectively, then I would also suggest to learn beforehand a lot to get the most out of your money. Also, I know it's redundant, but I think 2 weeks are not enough to learn. So maybe my opinion would be different if I would go there for 1 or 3 months. A lot of students have done this. So they were in a gap year after school or in their studies or after their studies. So maybe then it's more effective because it's multiple months. For me, it was like I started and 1 second later I ended. So yes, 2 weeks too short. And what I wanted to say is, after the language school, my motivation were really down. I learned Korean 1 year beforehand with the big goal to go to Korea and then have their language school. And after I completed this big goal, I had really a motivation problem. Also a lot of work at my job and also moving to a new apartment. So Korean has not the highest priority in my hobbies anymore. But what I want to say to you is, it's not that worse if you learned a long time, so 1 year continuously. It's not that you forget everything. So I started now 1 month ago to learn again with my preply teacher, and of course I did my Duolingo every day, and sometimes also I watched a K-drama, but without really concentrating on understanding things. But what I realized, I'm not sure if it was because of the language school or just because of the break, I understand a bit more. Not enough. It's really frustrating. It's not enough to understand the whole sentence, but I understand parts of the sentence and words, and now I can maybe guess the topic better, or really simple terms I understand. So it feels like progress, even if I had done a break. I don't know if there are studies, but I think there's also the suggestion, if you learned for an intensive long time, to just take a break and don't learn for 1 or 2 weeks, to that your brain can settle because it is structuring and learning ongoing. So sometimes you need a break to get better after it. My conclusion: is it really worth the money? Of course, it was fun. You have a group feeling, you meet new people. There were a lot of young people, so I felt old with my 26, so it was a bit funny. There was really young people, 80 to 22 or so, and then very old people, so 60s, 50, and I was there in between. There were not so many in between. Itself was cool. Experience the country, meeting the people, doing activities together. You're also paying for this, of course. You're not just paying for the lessons, you're also paying for the support, the organization, and the activities besides of everything. So in terms of just lessons and just money, I think it's not worth it. I could have a more intensive learning and learning progress with my prep teacher. No advertisement, just opinions. And also I think language learning is maybe more a self-initiative thing. So if you have a friend who speaks the language you want to talk and want to speak, and you speak together with a friend, I think it's more effective and it's free. Or you can have cheaper lessons online. Yeah, it's really different if you are in a class with with more people and have this classroom feeling with the teacher at the board in the front of you, or if you have the one-on-one class speaking just for you and your level and getting input. So I want to say to you, you don't need it. You don't need to spend a lot of money to learn a language. You can do it with not so much money and also totally free if you have connections and if you have more self-initiatives to go to language exchange apps and meet people and speak with people and be not too shy. And I mean, even if you are shy, like me, for example, you can learn language in so different ways. Today you have chatgpt who you can speak with. There's so many YouTube videos and language reactor, what I also wanted a video about, where you have double subtitles. There are so many ways. Even English is not my native language, but I see if I record videos in English, my English is getting better and better a bit, slightly. Maybe you don't feel it, but I feel it, even if especially on work, I feel it. So just recording those videos are helping me for moderating my work meetings, because yeah, the words are quicker there. Maybe I do less grammar points. I really try hard to work on my TH and not to speak too hard because I'm German. So my message for you, you don't need a language school, but if you want to have the experience, then do it. But don't have too high expectations like me, because I watched a lot of YouTube videos about people who were going to language school and they had a really high language level, and so I was thinking, oh, maybe it's because of the language school and because they are living in the country. And of course it is, but they are there for multiple months and not just 2 weeks in my vacations. In the end, let me know in the comments if you attended a language school. How was your experience? Do you think it's worth it? Have you better approach that are maybe not so cost anything at all? And yes, have a nice day and we see us again on the next video.